Talofa lava and welcome to the second module of the Pacific Environment Data Portal Learning Package. This module will walk you through the Environmental Data Portal in detail in order to learn how it operates. But before we continue, let's recap from the first lesson. In the previous module, you were introduced to an overview of the data portal as displayed on the screen, the 7 key themes for sorting data, the main items on the menu bar, Help button, the search tool that allows you to easily search for information, as well as the login button. At the end of this module, we hope that you will 1. Understand the structure of the data portal, 2. Be able to create a data set in the portal, 3. Be able to upload resources into a data set, 4. Understand the importance of and the difference between the 3 license levels, and 5. Understand the different metadata and how to edit and delete datasets and resources. The Pacific Environment Data Portal and the national portals are set up with the following building blocks. Group. The group is a collection of users from the same organization, department, or agency. Only users from a group can upload data to the portal. Users must be registered to become part of that group. Dataset. This is a folder or a container that holds resources or the actual data itself. You must create a dataset first before you can upload data. Resource. This refers to any type of data, such as Word or PDF reports, CSV or Excel files, maps or GIS files that you can upload to a dataset. In the portal, there are 2 symbols used to distinguish between a dataset and a resource. You just have to remember a dataset is a folder which contains 1 or more resources. For example, the rainfall data of Marshall Islands dataset is a folder that holds the Excel file resource RMI precipitation from 1901 to 2015, and it can contain many other resources as well. There is only 3 steps to upload data on the data portal. 1. Create a dataset. 2. Add 1 or more resources to the newly created dataset. And 3. Add additional data or metadata, which is not mandatory during the process of data upload, but it is highly recommended. This will help you to better search for particular content. Now, we are going to go through the 3 steps in more detail. Once you log into the portal, you will see the admin menu along the top of the screen. From the admin menu on the top left, you hover over the Add Contents menu link. From the drop-down menu, select Dataset option. After selecting Dataset, the landing page requires you to enter basic metadata in mandatory fields highlighted with a red asterisk, the title of the dataset, and the group it belongs to. While other fields are not mandatory, it is highly recommended that you fill them out with relevant information. Describe what your dataset is about. Be aware that this information will appear to the public. Also add in keywords that are related to your dataset, such as water pollution or fish population. Here we describe each field in more detail. We have the title. This is the name of the dataset. For example, if the particular folder you created will be for the purpose of storing Solomon Islands State of Environment Report information, then it should be titled as Solomon Islands State of Environment Report. You have the description. Here you briefly describe what your dataset is about. Therefore, if the dataset contains a report and associated data, the report abstract can be copied into the description. Tags. These are keywords related to your dataset to help other users to find it. For example, SOE or environment or the word report. Groups. Here you will see drop-down menu where you can select the group in which the dataset belongs to. In this example, it could be Ministry of Environment staff. Topics. Select one or more topics related to your dataset from the 7 themes in the portal, such as atmosphere and climate, land, or biodiversity. License option and access control. Here is where you choose a level of access restriction to the dataset. We'll go into more detail on license levels on the next slide. Once you finish all these steps, you click Add Data to continue the process. But before we continue, let's learn more about license levels. The license levels are set for the entire dataset, not per resource. There are 3 license levels for a dataset to choose from. Public. Resources will be freely available for download by the public without restriction. There's shared, where resources can be shared between the user groups registered on the portal but not the general public. And then private. This is where dataset names and their descriptive metadata will be publicly available, but access to the actual resource files will be limited to a single portal group. For example, a government department. Now that you have created a dataset, you will be required to add 1 or more resources. And to do so, there are 3 ways to upload resources into your dataset folder. Number 1, you can upload. Select Browse to choose a resource from your computer to upload, or drag and drop a file into the upload area. Number 2, embed. Add a URL to a file that is on an external website, and the data portal will attempt to embed and display the resource directly on the page. This is useful when referencing external images so that they are visible on the resource page directly in the data portal. Note, however, that some websites block their resources from being embedded. And 3, link to a remote file. You can add a link to a file which will be published on the portal as a hyperlink. Once you have added your resource, you can then add additional metadata in the fields such as title, which is the title of the resource you add in the dataset. If uploading multiple resources for one dataset, it is a good idea to include in the title how the resources are different. For example, rainfall data monthly or rainfall data yearly. In description, you describe what the resource is. And add another item will allow you to additional resources into the dataset, or click Save if you have finished. Okay, again. Additional metadata or additional information are populated during the process or by clicking Next Additional Info after creating a resource record. All along the process of entering data, additional metadata populates the datasets, and you can always click Next Additional Info after creating a resource record. Although this step is not mandatory, we highly recommend adding as much metadata or additional information as possible to help users find the right datasets and determine if it is useful to them. Here are some of the most important metadata you can enter into the database. The author of the dataset, either an individual or organization. Spatial or geographical coverage area. You can select the area that the dataset relates to from a map. Spatial or geographical coverage location. The name of the area that the dataset relates to. The address, city, state, or any description. Frequency. How often a dataset is published. Temporal coverage, the temporal period that the dataset covers, date or start and the end date range encompassing the dataset. Contact name, the name of the person who can be contacted regarding the dataset. Contact email, the email address of the person who can be contacted regarding the dataset. Homepage URL, the URL of the homepage where more information about the dataset can be found. Data standard, the name of the data standard, if there is one, that the dataset conforms to. Language, the language used in the dataset. Resources, list of resources that you added to the dataset or want to add in the dataset. Related content, an internal link or a link to an outside resource that provides additional context to the dataset. Revision information, providing an explanation of the changes you are making in the revision log message box. This will also help other authors understand your motivations. What if something went wrong? Sometimes those who upload datasets would like to make changes to the title, description, correct a spelling error, or even to upload a new resource to their newly created dataset. Sometimes a user may need to delete a resource or dataset altogether. There is always a way to do this. Click the Edit button and all selections of the dataset can be edited. The Edit button allows you to go through the same process as previously explained and make the necessary changes. And in case you want to delete the dataset you just created, you may need to unlink or delete the resources you've uploaded before deleting the entire dataset. To edit or delete a resource, click on the resource itself. Click the Edit button, scroll down to the bottom of the page and click Delete. You can also use the same Edit button to add changes to the dataset, then click Save. You have reached the end of this module. In summary, the dataset is a folder that you create on the portal, and the resources are the actual data that you upload into the dataset. Sharing datasets on the portal requires you to choose a level of license for access restriction. Uploading data on the portal is as simple as a 3-step process. And there is a way to undo a mistake and make changes on your newly created dataset or newly uploaded resources whenever it is necessary. It is that simple.